Today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the tires on your Ariel Rider X Class, or really any fat tire e-bike for that matter. It's all basically the same steps. So today we're going to be upgrading from the stock tires to the new Vee E-Huntsmans. Just got these in the mail today. I'm excited to finally get these on. So I'm going to be showing you how to take off the old tires, put the new ones on, and show you what it looks like once we get everything put back together. Since we're getting the new tires on, figures we might as well burn off the old rubber on the old ones. So let's do a nice little burnout on the X Class. The whole process of changing these tires only took me about an hour, and anyone can do it. And all you need is the tools that came with the bike and the toolkit. You don't need anything special. To start, I got the bike flipped over on its back right now. I'm going to start with the back wheel first, since this is a lot more complicated than the front. I think we're going to have to loosen up these bolts here on the side. Few Allens inside. Maybe you have to get the brakes loose. We're going to see if we can avoid doing that. Alright, to start this process, I'm going to remove the connection to the rear motor. So all you have to do is twist left and pull apart, but you can see that the connector is actually zip tied to the frame, which makes it nearly impossible to get out. So carefully cut the zip ties around the wires, making sure you don't hit your phase wires to your motor, because that would be an expensive day. So yeah, just keep unscrewing this barrel and pulling apart on the connectors until the unleash should look like that. And there's one more zip tie here at the end. I'm gonna clip that. Next, we're gonna have to loosen this bolt on the end, or this nut here that goes to the axle, and make sure once we start taking apart everything that you keep everything separated and where you know it is, so you don't lose any of your parts that you'll need. Alright, next thing we're going to want to do is remove the rear nut that's holding on the axle here. Now off camera, it just took me a lot of force to break this nut loose. It's a locking nut, so it has some plastic to keep it held in. I'm sure they use thread locker on these, so it'll take some force, but should be able to get it apart. I'm using the wrench that just came with the Ariel Rider, so if you don't have many tools and you still have that kit, you'll be alright. Alright, and here's the nut that keeps that axle on. Remember to keep everything organized and set to the side. Next, I'm going to work on taking off the torque arm that's attached to the side of the bike. That takes another good bit of force to get that broken loose, but you should be able to take this out the whole way. Alright, and then you can slide your torque arm off. Again, make sure you don't lose any of the parts. These will be very essential later on whenever you're putting the bike back together. I'm going to start loosening this brake from our bracket here. I'm just using the included T-handle Allen that came with the kit of the bike. So once you get this out, brake should just be able to slide right off. Now, whenever you do have the brake off of the disc and doesn't have the rotor in between, you need to be careful that you don't accidentally squeeze your brakes, or else it'll pop your brake pads and the cylinders out, and you're gonna have a rough time getting those all put back together. And be careful not to touch your brake pad too much, or else this is one way to cause some extra squeaking. Alright, so here's two bolts that connect that. I'm going to keep those aside. And we have our Tektro brakes just dangling right here. Alright, we're going to take a look at the other side of the wheel now. So you're going to need to remove your protective nut cover and break this bolt loose underneath. Again, this takes quite a lot of force to get going first time you break it loose, but once you put it back on, it'll be easier next time. just got this back bolt broken loose. I ended up having to put the wrench on and tap it with the hammer a few times in order to get it broken off. Now we should just be able to remove this and then remove the derailleur protector underneath. Go from there. Alright, now it should look like this. You have your derailleur hanger under here, and the rest of your bike should be loose. So now you should have everything taken off on the derailleur side and the brake side in order to break this tire loose and pop it off. Now the challenge is, once you pop the tire loose, you got to make sure you pull the chain off on this side whenever you get it off. This is kind of helpful to have two people for, but I'm just doing this myself. So we're gonna give it a whirl and see how it goes. I'm gonna try popping the tire loose. Holding down on the bottom of the bike here. Alright, look at that. So, got this part of the wheel off. Now I just need to get the chain off the derailleur. There we go. Pull the chain off to the side. Boom. There's the rear tire. Now you do want to be careful. There are these washers that are underneath. They're inside of your wheel here and on the other side. You do not want to lose those. Those are another part of the torque plates to help keep the motor from spinning inside the frame. So that's a very important part. But now we got the back wheel off, so we're gonna set that aside and get the front wheel off next. Now we are gonna do the front tire, get this off. Thankfully this is much easier to take off. All you need is the 15mm wrench that comes with your bike. Take off the nut and the washer on this side, the nut and the washer over there, and just pull the wheel straight out. No need to mess with the brakes or anything on the front wheel. Alright, now I got the nut and the washer taken off with both sides here. Make sure you don't lose either these parts for both sides. As I drop it and almost lose it. And then all you need to do is pull the wheel straight out, being careful not to hit your brake pads too hard. And there you go, there's the front wheel. Alright, next I'm going to be deflating this tire so we can get the new ones on easier. So all you're going to need to do that is just to take off your valve stem cap. It's on here pretty tight. I just like to use an Allen key and let the air out like this. You don't need to get all the air out, but get it so you can easily squish the tire down and make it a lot easier to remove. Alright, now the tire should be nice and squishy, easy to move around like this. We're going to sit and leave this off to the side, get the front done too. Alright, now I got the front rim pretty loose as well. Alright, next we're going to work on getting these tires off the rim. I just got a box to set the tires on, make the whole process a little bit easier if you have something like this. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is pull the tire off the edge. So we're going to need 2 tire irons like this. You're going to have to get under and start pulling that tire over. Get in with your other one. Just work your way around the tire. Once you got a big enough gap, you should be able to put 2 under. kind of work it around like that. Pop it off. Now you got the bead of the tire over this side. You're going to want to pull your inner tube stem out of your tire here, so you can just push that through and pull it out on the other side. And that way you can get your inner tube out. Now, if you have new inner tubes with your tires, you don't have to worry about reusing those. The ones I have now have been fine for me. They're the stock ones that came on the bike. I had one flat on my front tire originally, but I put a patch kit on, and it's held me since I've been riding it after that. So it's probably about 200 miles put on that. So I'm just going to keep these in on the next one. All right. Now you're going to need to get the other side of the tire over the rim. So just set it so you can get a little bit started. Work your way around that rim, getting until it pops over, and it should just fall right off. And there we have front rim, no tire. Alright, the back rim should be pretty similar to the front, but might be a little bit more of a pain since they have the motor. It's a lot heavier on this back wheel, but I'm going to just use the same strategy and get this tire broken over. You just want to start on one edge, get that popped over, and work your way around. Drop that edge of the rim off. Just going to need to get that inner tube again through the tire like we did last time. Pop that up. Pull your inner tube out. Boom. Gonna stick our tire iron underneath here. Actually, let's get it in on this side and work our way around, and boom, there goes the rear tire. I think it's getting pretty warm. Alright, we're gonna work on installing our new tires next. So, depends on what tire you get, but most e-bike tires are directional, which means that they're supposed to go on and rotate in a certain way. So if you look closely on my tire, it says rotation and then gives an arrow this way, which means whenever you're on the bike and rolling on the road, it should be going like this. So if we look on our bike, on the brakes here, there's actually another arrow that also shows the rotation. You could see on the very inside of the brake caliper there. So the easiest way is just to look at that and make sure the arrow on your tire is going the right way. You need to flip it the other way around. Now you got your tire going the right rotation. So once you get your new tire, just gonna kind of want to set it on halfway to the rim, get it worked on as much as you can, and then push it over onto the edge of the tire. It should just flop right in like that. Now before you press the other side of the rim in, you're going to want to get your inner tube back into the tire. So I'm going to get that. It's the inner tube for the back. You're going to want to just hold your tire up and stuff that inner tube into your tire. Now make sure you remember where your valve stem is and where the hole is on the rim. So mine's right here. I'm going to line the valve stem up with that. That'll be the first place I start to fill this inner tube in. So be careful not to put it in the tire. Alright, now we got it popped in. Get it readjusted to make sure your valve stem lines up. And then go stick that back through the rim. Make sure you get that valve stem worked out the whole way before you try seating the rest of the tire. So looks like we got that in whole way now. We're gonna work on getting the next edge of this tire around too. So start by just pushing as much over as you can. might just be able to do this by hand. There we go. Pop the tire into place. Gonna need to inflate that after, and then we'll get the tire set correctly. We're gonna do the same thing for the front tire, also being mindful of where the arrow for the direction is going on your tire and your brakes. If you did find this video helpful, please give me a like on this video. It would greatly help out the channel and help this video reach more viewers that might need a hand changing out their tires. Now that I got the tires with the inner tubes seated, all I'm going to need to do next is inflate and work out the tires as it's inflating, making sure that they get on evenly and I don't have any lumps or weird spots with the tires or tubes. So I'm going to go start inflating and working it around as I go. Alright, next we're going to start working air into the tire and working it around as we're inflating it. Unfortunately, all I have is a little foot pump, but this will be nice to make sure we work the air around and get the tires even as we go. So just going to pump it up until I start to feel the inner tube start to get a little firm. Right. Starting to get it a little firm around there, so just gonna work the tire, make sure it's getting even. Check the other side too. Make sure that's seating on. Just keep inflating. Just make sure you keep working that tire around so you don't get any high spots on it. I only have it up to about 20 psi, but it's already starting to feel pretty solid here. Probably pump it up to about 25. It says max is 36, but I like to have my tires a little bit softer, so try it at 25 and see if we need to add more or less from there once we get them on the bike. But let's start filling up the back tire. Alright, I'm going to start doing the same process on the back tires, working on getting this pumped up and make sure everything's even. Alright, back tire filled up too. It's looking good, feeling firm, and I am sweating after trying to pump that thing up the whole time. So all we're going to need to do next is get them installed back on the bike. Just going to basically do the opposite of everything we did to take them off. Just got to make sure you be real careful. You put all the washers back on the bike where you got them off from. Being especially careful to not forget these washers that go on the inside of the wheel like this before you put it back on the bike. Those are a part of the torque arm assembly, and you might risk damaging your dropouts on your bike if you don't have these in. Alright, I'm gonna get the rest of the attachments for this. Start with our little torque arm here. And it turns out the tab needs to stick on the top of the dropout, not inside like I was thinking. Now this way the torque arm here does have enough room. We can attach that with our Allen screw and get that secured to the bike. Alright, make sure that's firm and snug down. And just have to reattach the big bolt here. You're gonna want to make sure this is super tight, keep everything all on here. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to use some thread locker here. Unfortunately, I don't have any at the moment. Alright, before we get that too firmed up, let's move to the other side. Get that sorted out here. put this bracket back on. Alright, got that all secured. Gonna have to put the big nut back on. And that should be it over here. Make sure everything rotates smoothly. Gonna have to do another double check on that once we get the brakes connected in. I'm gonna get the brake caliper reconnected here. What you want to do is slide that back on gently, trying not to scrape up the pad too badly anywhere, and then just start lightly threading those bolts in by hand. Now, before we get these tightened up the whole way, I'm going to loosen this one up a little bit. We're going to need to get this brake centered. So what you're going to want to do, or I find the easiest way, is to go up and hit your back brakes on your bike. Make sure you hit your back ones. And what that'll do will center the pad on the brakes. So while you're still pressing the brakes, tighten that up. This way the pressure from the brakes will kind of center the calipers around the disc. Now spin your wheel. Make sure there's no obvious rubbing. There might be some, but that sounds pretty good. Get that snugged up and secured. Next, you're going to reconnect your motor cable. Be careful where it faces, and screw the silver connector on as tight as you can. Now, get some zip ties and reattach the motor cable back to the bike, just so you don't worry about running your motor cable into your brake disc or anything like that. Alright, just gonna get the front tire back on now. Should be pretty simple. Just make sure whenever you put the tire in, careful not to mess up the brake pads. Kind of help it get in if it needs. Looks good. Alright, just need to put our washer and nut back on. Alright, looks like we got everything back together. We have it. New E-Huntsman on the Ariel rider. Man, that looks good. And there we have it. Fully installed tires on the Ariel Rider X Class. These new V-Huntsmans look good. I'm gonna let my battery fully charge up on my bike and finish cleaning up out here, and we'll get take her for a spin. If you want to see more about the Ariel Rider X Class, or if you want to hear more about the new V-Huntsman tires that I just installed, please subscribe, and we'll keep you guys updated on the bike and on any future upgrades or updates that I do.